Thank you. I'll call the December 5th Utility Committee to order. I'd like to get a approval of the agenda, plus we have to put on the resolution for the Public Meetings Act on it.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We need to get approval of last meeting's notes.
I move to approve the last meeting's notes as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this resolution is declaring reasonable notice of public meetings for the Utility Working Committee. It's the one we have to do every year that makes Karen publicize it. So we could have a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to approve the resolution for the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Okay, for the reports. Sewer audit.
So for the sewer audit, number of properties connected during the audit process has been 200. We've had 99 properties connect ahead of the audit. So total, since we've started this audit process, is 299 properties.
Great.
You said 299, Ashley?
299.
Awesome.
Did that make EPA happy when you got the new permit?
They never even asked about it.
Oh, okay, good.
And just for clarification and record, those 299 properties, those are just in the village limits, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Chair, we did send a letter stating when we did meet the threshold for the permit, so that's probably why they never brought it up. We sent them a notice.
Yeah. All right, the water audit.
All right, so for the water audit, on the first one, we have the non-revenue water. So we see that it did move up a little bit, but it is trailing behind from previous values as we are. This is the October audit that we've done. So hopefully we should start seeing a decrease here soon.
Except for Adam flushing all the lines.
So for the trailing 12-month, it's kind of the same thing that we were seeing is higher, slightly higher non-revenue water over the billed authorized consumption, but hopefully we should start seeing decrease here soon. And then for the final graph, we can actually see, if you look at the two dotted lines, that there is a sharp decrease going down of our non-revenue water. So that solid line that's going up should start coming back down here, probably not next month. In the next couple of months, we should hopefully start seeing a decrease because of that. It's starting to average out.
Good.
All right.
And the leak detection update, part of that?
Do you have that right up, Marty?
I have not put on those ones, like I was saying, on the leak detection, when they came out, we did the whole survey to town. We have repaired, or replaced the lines that were over 1 gallon a minute. We did dig up several of the ones that were below, they're like 0.03, 0.08. We started digging those up and we could not find any leaks on those, so I don't know if they were just having line noise on those ones or what it was that they were getting, but
And we had that issue in the past when we had the other leak detection companies come up and they told us, with the pressures and everything that we have and demands that we have on some of these lines, and just depending on what kind of line they are, like the 2-inch galvanized lines, you get that turbidity inside that line, and you may have an obstruction, and that's what they're hearing in there. And I think a lot of these lines that Marty's dug up, there were some of the old galvanized 3/4 inch and 1-inch water lines, then that's what they're hearing the main noise on.
Yeah.
So, Marty, so Ashley's gonna start working with, Peer Ops to set up the next leak detection. So we're gonna do a third of town, but it would probably be good, rather than just not doing those leaks, is maybe we can go to those specific pinpoints with them. And you guys can be out there with them and maybe talk through it a little bit more. So it'd be nice to have a written of that report, what happened for each one when they were repaired. And actually, that's gonna be a little bit more expensive, so make sure that they're aware of that scope. So we'll do the 33% of town plus all those missed pinpoint locations.
And there wasn't very many of the, I mean, there was a handful of them that were like .03, .08, so there wasn't very many of them.
All right, the asset management.
So for the asset management on the utility network, we, ran into a little hiccup, nothing too big. He was able to get the utility network up and running, but it's having issues communicating appropriately, so I will be meeting with, hopefully meeting with Systems MD and with Luke on Friday. So that way we can work on rebuilding out that utility network, just finishing that little minor, it should not take very long to do though. It's pretty much completed, we just need to make sure they're communicating with each other.
Good. And master planning and rate analysis.
So if I were to give a number to it, I'd say that the master plans are 90% done. And so the master plans will kind of take a backseat now to the rate analysis. So we've got a lot of the data. The company, Raftellus, is redoing, are going through all of the rate studies component. And we've got a specific meeting with them here on this week, specifically with Raftellus, just to talk about the rate analysis. This project is probably going to be, since the master plans are basically done, it's mainly just project management and then also the rate study. I'm going to be making a recommendation that Christella takes over this project, but it might be a combination of Christella and Tim. So I haven't figured out who's going to jump in for that one quite yet.
Are you going to keep the rates set up the same way where we have that minimum? You get 3,000 gallons with your minimum. You got to keep not encouraging conservation.
I believe that we're going to switch it to, they'll probably just be like a lower cost for that 0 tier, that 0 to 3,000. And then there'll likely be like just a base fee that everyone would pay that has an adjacent lot.
Yeah, have you thought about the base fee and then actually charge?
That's what I'm saying.
Or
So there wouldn't be that three,
You don't get any free water.
that might be what it comes in at.
I think that would encourage conservation more than, because one of my neighbors had me put in a rainwater collection tank for him because he didn't use 3,000 gallons. He was going to fill that tank up.
Yep.
But luckily I hooked it up to the gutters and he never got the chance. But
So I know
That
that
was
they're at
the
least-
attitude.
yeah.
If you're gonna charge them, they're gonna use it.
And I know they're at least looking into that, and that's something that will probably need to be discussed in the first public hearing when they present the rate analysis.
Yeah. Well, that would probably make the absentee people happy, but,
But I've heard the same thing from some other people, that they make sure that they use their 3,000 gallons.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, the stormwater and drainage master plan.
So that is just waiting for the state revolving funds. So we put in the application, they're reviewing it. It should, cross our fingers, be 100% subsidized by the environmental department.
Good. Sounds like they're gonna have some extra money this year, so hopefully you can have a lot of it.
And it's, from what they were saying, is they, for some reason, don't have a lot of planning grants come through the state revolving fund. So they were actually pretty excited to get a planning proposal.
Good. And what's the latest on the fine screens at the treatment plant?
So we did get a commitment that the fine screen design memo will be submitted to us probably by Wednesday. So it's my going away present, is they'll give me a deliverable.
There you go. And that's just the engineering on it?
Yes, so it's just, so it's basically the basis for what the project should be designed as. I do know, by talking to Ron, the lead engineer in it, that their recommendation is gonna be to stay with the existing, like, type of fine screen with the Ovivo filters, but to just replace them brand new. So don't rehab what's there, just replace it with what they have that has the same footprint. A lot of the other models that they evaluated, just there was too much issues with the footprint, and then also the size of them. And then some of them were even a larger mesh size, which is the opposite way of what we
Yeah.
wanted to go. So for now, the plan is to replace the same thing, just brand new.
Have they been tracking on those particular screens, any price increase?
So I believe that the holdup of the project was prices. So it was the last thing to go into the memo. So we should have basically new prices in that design memo.
So is Isaac okay with that plan? Because I thought he was wanting some finer.
I think after talking through it with the engineers, I think he understands the complications of getting a change in the process. But, you know, Isaac will be the one to review the memo and provide comments on it. So I believe he is aware of the determination that they're recommending.
Okay. And Ruidoso River restoration.
So I put in our application for the hazard mitigation grant, our grant program for a $6.5 million project. And I honestly do think that we're going to have a very good chance of getting it. So right now it's in review at DHSEM, the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. That grant cycle, we're actually a sub-applicant of the state, and the state is actually the one who's applying to FEMA. So their application is due in April. So they're reviewing our application. They'll work with us to make changes to it, and then they'll submit all of the New Mexico's projects together as one package. So we'll cross our fingers for that. In the meantime, though, I'm going to be proposing that we do a engineering schematic of the project. So Chris Phillips and I walked the river probably 4 times, the whole stretch of the river 4 times. And so Chris would develop a schematic based off of the surveys that Moles and Corbin did, and then we did a survey in between all the Moles and Corbin projects. So we have a complete survey of the river from the Mescalero boundary down to the Ruidoso Downs boundary. So he would just set up a schematic that would kind of show the locations, the survey locations of proposed projects, and have a little bit better feel of where the structures would fit. It wouldn't be a fully engineered, it's not even a preliminary design. It's just it's kind of just showing, here's the location that these structures should be. So if we do get the grant, we have to go through a federal procurement process for an engineering firm. This would help us with the advertisement of it, so that we make sure that if it's a different engineer, there's at least the vision that we had done in the initial design gets carried forward into within the next engineer.
Does that have anything, that whole survey factored in for who are the NRCS or?
Yes, yep, so we cut out the locations that the Emergency Watershed Protection Program would address. So this is everything that needs to be done in the river besides that, and the Moles and Corbin project that we're doing for the hazard mitigation. So the 5 or 7 locations that I'm doing, the 7 locations that we're doing, those are not included in this project.
The 7, and just to kind of go into that, is with the funding that we had when we bid out the hazard mitigation, it was identified, like with Chris Phillips and Eric, of the worst 7 potential washout locations. And then the other hazard mitigation part of it that Riverbend will be doing, will be mitigating the other pieces of this project.
Okay. Okay, the engineering, water tanks, or water storage tank, phase 1.
Okay, Sauter Miller and Associates is still working on the preliminary design for the engineering. They're doing a cost comparison with the east and west backwash tanks. And because if they go ahead and proceed with doing the backwash tanks, it's going to be an expensive project, because the road has to be upgraded, and there's a lot of small issues with the tanks and the vaults. A lot of piping and everything has to be redone. Plus, a retaining wall would have to be included also. So what we're looking at is trying to go with a small pumping station that would be located at Plant 1, and with the emergency generator also. And then, of course, feeding water from the tanks, from the grindstone tanks. So they're working on that. They're going to see what's the best way to approach it. So, and I know there's still a few things we have to work out. But I did give them some of the information that they needed. They were trying to get some tank drawings and stuff, so I got that submitted, and haven't heard anything this week, so.
And kind of go into that too is during the 2008 flood, when the water lines got washed out in Upper Canyon, we did feed from the way the backwash tanks feed from Upper Canyon all the way into Black Forest and up to Chelsea. We did backfeed those lines while Plant 1 was down from the grindstone tanks back to the Upper Canyon to the backwash tanks. So that's what Sauter Miller is actually looking at as far as, what's more feasible, to either replace those tanks, put a booster station in, but then we got to look at the fire protection aspect of it and storage and that, so there's a lot of aspects of that. One of the options they had brought out is putting that booster station with a smaller tank and then having an altitude valve up on the bottom of Chelsea and Lost Mountain Court to open up for fire flow. There's a couple options they have presented to us.
So we'll probably be having a meeting sometime fairly soon to kind of go over what they're finding or what they're coming up with. I know fire protection, like Adam said, is one of the biggest items of concern, so. That's all I have on that project.
Okay, the Grindstone Dam conduit inspection.
Okay, Rubicon Applied Divers completed most of the conduit and vault inspection. But the issue they had was there's a 48-inch line that runs underneath the dam from the outlet, or from the vault. And it runs 24 feet down, 100 feet across. And then it 90s up into a 24-inch intake line. That line was full of sediment and debris. So what they're doing right now is they're working on a cost proposal and a new game plan. And I believe it's completed. He was just gonna fine tune and look at it over the weekend, and I should have it either today or tomorrow.
You gotta put some screens on that inlet or something, or,
Well, that's what we're looking at. That is part of OSC's concern, is how that sedimentation was getting into, into that line.
yeah.
So there might have to be some rehab or some repairs done on that fourth intake.
Get his old fine screens put down there.
The other three intakes, they all have screens around it, but this one has a bar rack that's located right up on top of it. So,
That'll keep big rocks, but not dirt.
yeah, it's interesting how that stuff got in there, but we believe that dome has never been taken off since it was probably installed in the 70s, 80s. So, I mean, that's a long time.
I don't think Adam was born then,
So,
like 78, wasn't it?
the other thing I'm looking at is, yeah, I
86?
think there's gonna be a special meeting. Would like to try to get that on the special council meeting for December if possible. So that's my goal. If not, I'll put it on the January meeting. That's,
Better hurry, December's gonna be over.
yeah, I know, I'm just kind of waiting on them, and once I get the information, I'll start putting everything together. That's gonna be quite a project. So they've got some pretty good ideas, and Steve's pretty knowledgeable on stuff like that, so.
Good.
Okay, any questions on that one? The Grindstone Emergency Spillway Assessment. That's pretty much completed. They did that about a month ago, and then we had a meeting last week with James Head from OSC Dam Safety Bureau, and the engineers and Leonard and myself were on also, and some of the operators. And that meeting went pretty good. They kind of went over everything that they found. The meeting probably went an hour and 20 minutes, so we covered a lot of ground, and we wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page, and and as long as James is happy with everything that we're working on, and it seems like he is. The next phase is they're working on a plan of attack, or the 60%. That should be completed, knock on wood, by the end of this month. So it's moving along pretty quick.
Randy, have you guys had an estimate for the cost for repairs yet? Or that's coming with the 60%?
Yeah, that's gonna be at the 60%. All the assessment is identified the issues and the problems. And the 60% is gonna go ahead and identify their game plan. And it'll involve a cost also.
So
It's
I just
probably
know
gonna be high.
that these dam repairs they've got a potential to get pretty spendy. But with our inspections and the reports that are coming from the engineer, these might be good projects to try to do for the next year's Water Trust Board. So just keep that in your guys' mind. So the Water Trust Board requires you to have a design memo or a PER for a project. So if we're doing this as part of the assessment, this is probably the best project setup that we have to apply for Water Trust Boards next year. And so the funding cycle would start in, like, I believe, May, June. So we should have, so Ashley's project is the one that needs to be spent down. So we just need to make sure that that's spent down by the application due. 75% of Eagle Creek Wellfield Phase 3 needs to be spent, which I believe she should be able to meet that.
And then the other thing is James is pretty much agreed that, you know, this all doesn't have to be done at one time. We can do it in like phases. And he's pretty understanding about that. You know, he does understand that, you know, it's gonna cost money and time but he's willing to, you know, work with us as long as he sees that we're making real good progress, which we are. I mean, we're accomplishing a lot of the items that were really, you know, on his list, so.
Yeah, I'd think he'd be pretty happy with you at this point.
Yeah, he is, you know, we've done everything that he's asked and then some, and of course, he does say that he keeps in mind that, you know, he's trying to keep the cost down, but everything that he's requesting costs a lot of money, so. But, I don't know, I feel good with where we're at. I know we're, I think, on the last year for Yane Associates. So this is, I think, their third extension, so. So we're trying to get everything knocked out. Is there a possibility of getting a fourth extension, Eric, or is that?
No, just depending on the price, we can try to work something. So let's just talk with Christella after the meeting. Now would be the time anyways to get with her to start talking about the re-advertisement process.
Okay. That's pretty much I have on that project. Any questions?
The Alto Reservoir improvements,
So for the Alto Reservoir improvements, we should be receiving our 100% design tomorrow. And then we should be getting our cost estimate from TLC. And so we will be bringing this to the January council to see if it's approved with a potential construction end of February.
and the Upper Canyon surface diversion.
Upper Canyon surface diversion, we received our 100% design at the end of last week. So we are gonna review it internally on Thursday after the capital projects meeting. And then we'll go ahead and give our comments over to the engineer for the 100% design. And then we also did get approved to, what's the correct wording, Eric? Move forward with litigation? Or that we got approved for the funding to move forward to litigation.
No, to the.
For a water trust
No,
board.
so we need authorization from the legislation. So that there's a legislative request. NMFA is trying to get it so that they have the authority to approve the projects based on the budget that's allocated. But right now, the way that act or law that sets up the water project fund, it requires a legislative authorization of the projects that NMFA is recommending to move forward with. So right now, it's just waiting until the session.
So hopefully, if that gets approved and everything, hopefully looking at maybe May for construction for that.
How long will that take?
I would have to get back to you on that. Not exactly sure on the length of the project.
I think it was an 8-month construction. It's a pretty long project, so that's why Randy took so much water this fall, is we're kind of anticipating to not take water, after May, June of this next year for quite a while.
Yeah. Okay, Pine Cliff,
So, like we talked about before, engineering's done. The engineer, Sauter Miller, has broken out the project into phases. We do have a geo bond ready for the water portion of this project and any leverage. Working with Eric, he's identified, was it DFA, right, Eric?
No, the state revolving fund.
State
through
revolving
NMED.
fund. There's a couple of components to that. There's either a low-cost or low-interest loan to that, or some of the grants we can look at to apply for this project.
Christella, have you pulled that application yet?
okay, River Well restoration.
So for Riverwell S13 and S3, the project went, or advertisement for bid went out on November the 23rd. We will close that process on December the 21st. And then hopefully I will bring a recommendation to award the project to the January 10th council meeting. So, any questions regarding the wells?
There's no pre-con?
No, the only outlier that we had was a domestic drilling, well, or domestic size drilling rig. So that's just kind of in my scope. I will visit the site. I've got a wheel there. I'll hand walk the site and see how big or how much area we have to use, and then I will get with the contractors as far as the size of the rig. So. Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
All right, the procurement, Eagle Creek Well Field Phase 3.
For that one, we are just, we are working with Andrea right now to work with Ryan Roper to get in all the documents that we need. And then we will hold our pre-construction meeting, and hopefully we'll have some dates picked out when construction will start and how long it should take. It should.
Okay. Okay, on the construction, the Region 9 sewer line.
So Michael Chavez has started the Region 9. He was actually working out at the Allsups, the new Allsups on 48, putting their sewer line in, and he moved right over into that one and actually got it out of the footprint of the Allsups parking lot. And we were having to make a couple little jogs because of the water line that he ran into and some drainage. But he should be finishing that up here shortly.
You need to hire those guys to build all of our stuff.
Right? They went quick.
Yeah,
Talking about the Allsups contractors? They work 7 days a week.
yeah,
They were pouring
into the
concrete.
dark.
I left town about 5:15 and they were already pouring concrete.
They've made it really hard for me to get concrete. All right, Mary
Mary Drive.
Drive water line.
As you know, this was the portion of the road that got over excavated, over milled by General Hydronics during the CDBG project, Town and Country project. We did put sewer in that road, and again, we've hired Michael Chavez we went out for bid, and Michael Chavez was the only contractor really that can get to it. So as soon as he's done with Region 9, he'll be jumping over there to go do that one, and we'll get it paved.
What is that, about 400 feet, Adam?
It's 390 feet, something like that, yeah. It's not a whole lot, but we'd rather get the water line replaced before we pave it and have to go tear it back up.
Okay, the Meacham Meadows Muddy Housing Project.
So Meacham Meadows, all the utilities have been tied in, water line, sewer line. I think 13 of the houses have been set, is that correct, Ron? 12 or 13? Anyway, they're lacking a couple of houses that they're building pads for right now. The fire hydrants on the southwest and southeast corners have been set. They did leave them out just because, getting the trailers in there and stuff. The millings have been put on the road, and as soon as that last house is in, we'll go and compact them and spray with oil. And that'll be, the roads will be pretty much in, all the utilities be able to charge up and take back tees and stuff.
Good.
So how many fire hydrants you have to put in there?
There was 1, 2, 3, 5.
5?
Yeah, I put one on each corner of the lot, and then at the dead end, where you come back out on the southeast corner there, for extension, so we can tie the other lot in on the other side of Dollar General also in the future.
So do you have them all rented?
We're working with our management company, and I believe they have a list already, so I believe they're gonna rent pretty quick.
I imagine. Good. The 603 Meacham water line,
603 Meacham Water Line is complete. General Hydronics, or actually White Sands, was contracted through a statewide price agreement. They subcontracted General Hydronics to do that line. It is tied in, charged up, back tees have been completed, and both cabins in the back have been tied into the new line.
were the old lines just not any good?
Well, we had to separate it for metering purposes,
Oh.
since we're renting them.
Yeah.
So, being, if we, in the future, if we expand that property, we have fire protection in there, and we have a 6-inch water line for everybody to tie into.
Good. Hazard mitigation and stabilization of sewer line.
So we are obtaining the rest of the remainder of the easements for the hazard mitigation. There's a couple of things that got changed, now that the contractor is actually on site, and we're looking at some furthering temporary easements that need to be obtained just because of the construction footprint and their trench boxes and stuff like that. But actually, before we're in this meeting, we're finalizing some of that stuff, and it's an everyday occurrence, going out and taking pictures and talking to the engineer and making sure we have all our I's dotted and T's crossed on that project.
Have the property owners been cooperative?
Some of them,
Yeah. Always one.
yeah.
It's a question for Chris. So
I'm just the guy that says I need this, and then Chris and Ron are the ones that go out and get yelled at. Yeah. But like I said, AUI, they've been really responsive on any type of construction needs and what they're actually doing, and they've they sent out updates and everything else, so they've been a great contract to work with so far.
RJU shop building, I thought you'd be in closing.
Well, we're using it to store equipment in.
There you go.
Well, we were until they kicked us out, but building's up. We did do a change order. It was last month, I believe, for the relocation of the HVAC system and some grading changes on the building. So as soon as that's done, and then we have one other thing, the shower did not pass inspection. It was not, didn't meet ADA compliance. So they're going back and they've found a solution for it. So,
Is that their fault? Or,
yeah, it was kind of a architect. They had it designed, but when the inspector came in, they have to have a 30-inch clearance all the way around, and there was no pan. It was just concrete, and they wanted a pan in. So they went and chipped it. They're going to chip out the concrete and actually set a pan in there, and we'll have enough clearance. So Roper was actually back on site doing some grading Friday. So hopefully by the end of the week, depending on the weather, he's going to try to pour the concrete apron in front of the building. We did take out the paving out of that project just because the winter months and stuff like that. We'd figured, if they graded it out, we'll go ahead and pave it ourselves up through there.
good. You may actually get a building one of these days.
Someday.
Eagle Creek and Gavilan Canyon wellfield design and planning.
So we have contractors out on the ground starting today. So the fencing crew's out there setting up the fence. So we should have everything done in 3 weeks. Just that's it, I guess. I'm excited to get it started finally after such a big delay.
And Upper Sudworth sidewalk rehab.
So General Hydronics is the one that won that bid. They actually set up their traffic control today. They're going to start this week on the demo of some of that sidewalk and rehab. With that, they also have the remainder of Center Street. They're doing Center Street, Upper Sudworth, and they're doing the concrete work for our 1114 Meacham project. So they're kind of jumping around, but they did set up traffic control today. They're going to start that project, and they're going to jump between finishing up Center Street, Windstream and TDS finally got everything off their poles. P&M did pull the main poles off Center Street so they can finish the sidewalks there. And I just got word about 30 minutes ago that the TDS pulled the rest of their stuff off the pole in the parking lot, so they can pull that pole and we can get that done also.
Closeout stuff. Alto Crest treatment.
Yeah, I'm working with Leonard and I guess Rachel on trying to get it closed out to see what documents are still pending, and I think we're gonna meet sometime this week to get that taken care of. I've also touched bases with Katie from Molson and Corbin. She's checking everything on her side too to make sure that we have everything.
I think Katie's got a walkthrough, an 11th month walkthrough that they
Yep.
need to do first, before their side, they can close the project. So I'm tasked, or I tasked myself this week with reaching out to her, making sure that I'm invited to that meeting for that walkthrough, and I feel confident we can close it all out after that walkthrough, so we'll have an update for y'all for next week.
Because I think it's, the final warranty is in February, so the walkthrough will be next month.
Yep.
So
Okay, the Town and Country water and sewer rehab.
That project has been complete. I think Ashley, did you get your GIS stuff from Sutter Miller?
Town and Country, yes, I did, and Robert's story was really good to work with. We did clear up some complications on the GIS data, so I think we're good to go on that.
And the same with the Paradise Canyon lateral replacement, that project is complete. And the same thing, that question, Ashley?
I received the GIS data. I still need to review it, but it has been received.
Grindstone cleaning.
Chair, 1 second. Did I remember to submit the Army Corps report for this year? We did the survey and we took the pictures, but I don't know that I did.
Which one?
For the whole road.
The
Remember
drainage?
you taking pictures? I never reviewed it if you did submit it.
I don't think I did it. I need to check with that.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the Grindstone Dam cleaning project is completed. We're just looking to make sure we have everything finalized. And I'm working with Leonard and checking with Rachel and Christella maybe to see what we need and try to get it closed out. So,
Good. Did they get your approval on Town and Country, Jesse?
Yeah, you gotta see how fast he goes through those roads now.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the next meeting date's January the 9th.
Next year?
Yes. I guess if nobody has anything, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We got out a little early. Back to your other meeting.
We ended that one.